please. I was at the Saturday meeting, and I didn't ask the bike ped questions I'm gonna be asking now because I thought it'd be more prudent to wait until I'm on that, for my colleagues here on the committee. If you notice, on the bike ped section on the spreadsheet, number 43, Horton Street experimental traffic calming measures is in there. And so we all know what that is. That is the money that the city has determined they need to spend to what I call study the study. Now the study, of course, is the bike ped plan, and they feel they need to study to figure out how to implement level 4 traffic calming, which is only temporary. Probably don't need to remind people. So level 4 traffic calming is supposed to be in extant for 2 years, and it's supposed to be studied to see what the effect on the traffic is. And if it's doesn't drive the traffic below 3,000 vehicle trips per day, then we're supposed to, after 2 years, we then move on to level 5 traffic calming, which is the final level, and there's nothing past that, and those are street diverters. Now, we all remember from the plan, the plan calls for a street diversion at a level 5 street diversion, if it comes to pass that we need that, at Horton between 45th and Sherwin. And that's a complete, the mini park will be built there. It's a complete street closure. Bikes and peds can still go through, and emergency vehicles, but no regular traffic. That's level 5. And then there's another diverter up farther north, and it hasn't been completely planned. That doesn't say definitively where exactly that one should be, but they do say the southern one, which is where I just described. So we see that we have money here set aside for the next 5 years of capital improvement for the level 4 temporary study of the study. But what there's not any money laid out here by the city, and I think it's very telling, is there's no money laid aside for the possible level 5. Now, we should prepare for the contingency.
Allocating money for level 5 if we knew that you needed it right now.
Well, hold on. But hold on.
Or
if you read the plan,
we knew that.
well, if you read the plan, you'll remember that it says each level is only supposed to be up for 2 years, and then we move on to the next level. So since this is a 5-year, if necessary, but this is a 5-year CIP, so money should be set aside with because there's a possibility we may need to do the final level 5. Now, how realistic is the possibility that we'll have to do level 5 traffic calming? Well, we have well in excess of 3,000 vehicle trips right now, and we haven't gotten the transit center traffic, which we're going to be getting. And more important than that, we haven't gotten the Sherwin-Williams project, which is going to put about 1,000 cars on the street. So there's no credible way, in my opinion, that level 4 traffic calming, these chicanes or these chokers, one-way bridge style chokers, are going to deliver us our less than 3,000 vehicle trips. I don't think that's very credible. But even if I'm wrong, what are the odds that it might not work? In other words, with transit center traffic plus Sherwin-Williams traffic, what are the odds that the level 4 traffic calming might not get us to our less than 3,000? I think it's very high. So it's only prudent, I think, within a 5-year CIP plan, which this is, we're required after only 2 years from now to be going to level 5 if level 4 doesn't work. Why isn't it in here? Now I want to pause for a moment. As you all know, this is my pet topic. I'm very passionate about this topic. And I've made a lot of allegations about the city. I've alleged that the city isn't taking this Horton Street Bike Boulevard seriously, that they don't really want to do it. And I've made a lot of allegations. And I've had allegations thrown back at me from staff members and some politicians, even from some committee members here. I was told last time we talked about this, when I was raising hell about it, that we're gonna get this bike boulevard. Brian, just settle down. So now, I think it's pretty clear here that the city doesn't really want to do this. I mean, it's a 5-year CIP plan, and there's no money in here for the level 5 traffic calming. Maybe there's a slim chance we won't need it, but it should be placed.
What's
the money
level
should
5
be.
going to cost?
It'll be a lot. We'll have to pour concrete, curb, it'll be quite a bit. Maurice knows more about this than I do, but it's a big chunk
Okay,
of
can I
change.
talk now, or?
No, in just a second.
Okay.
So I want to see, and I think we should talk about this, money set aside in the CIP for level 5 traffic.
Yeah,
So, and
I understand where you're coming.
we need some good faith here. I'm nervous.
Okay,
I have been nervous that the city is not taking the bike ped plan seriously, and then this gives me more ammunition, more cause for concern that the city is not really taking the bike ped plan seriously.
okay, so I put this project scope together, so maybe I can explain what we're doing.
Do you know what page it's on?
Yeah, it's line item 43 here, so it's on page 43.
Oh, great.
Tried to make the, so, first of all, I'd like to report that half a year ago or more, we applied for some grant funding through ACTC or MTC
Level 4.
for doing design work on buildings, to do the experimental traffic calming kind of measures.
For level 4.
And we received $36,000 for that work.
For level 4.
Diverters aren't level 4, right? Diverters
No,
are
level 5 are diverters.
So this
I
is-
just want to say that we received $36,000.
For
Now,
level 4.
we can determine what we want to use it for. It's a design scope. MTC is going to hire the designer for us, and they're going to do what we want them to do. So if we want to do level 4, we can have them design level 4. If we want them to design level 5, we can have them design level 5. That's where we are with that. So we just need, as a committee, we'll make a recommendation as to how we want to proceed with that. So this project I call Horton Street Experimental Traffic Calming Measures. The project includes design and installation of experimental traffic calming measures on Horton Street between 62nd and Sherwin. Calming measures will incorporate temporary diverters, chicanes, pavement delineation, or other measures identified in the bike plan. The project will include taking traffic counts and speed zone surveys at key locations to determine the results of the measures. And then there's a justification in here that talks about why we're doing it. And the current status is the staff has received an application to MTC for design assistance for the project. The developer of the Sherwin-Williams site will be performing traffic analysis incorporating traffic diverters. So this project, once we figure out what we want to do and when we implement them, it's going to take 1 year to 2 years before we can figure out what the results are. By that time, we're doing the next CIP, and we'll have a better idea. And we'll also have a better idea as to where we are with Sherwin-Williams, because I would say that once we know what we want to do, we can make Sherwin-Williams pay for the installation. So there's really
Permanent.
yeah, the permanent.
Level 5.
We'll have an idea of what we want. We'll know what the effectiveness is.
Level 5 you're talking about.
Well, it says
Whatever it
here,
is, I don't know what it is yet, Brian.
I think it says the developer of Sherwin-Williams site will be performing traffic analysis incorporating traffic diverters. I guess the diverters include.
Right, well, we asked them,
Temporary.
yeah,
Right.
we've asked them because, yeah, so we've asked them with their traffic studies, when they get ready to do it.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Morris.
We asked them when they do their traffic studies, we want them to look at their site with diverters and without diverters, because we need to see where's their traffic gonna go? If we have the diverters, where is it gonna go? So you've gotta look at it in both cases. And we're gonna need to do an environmental analysis to see what are the impacts. Because if you send all the cars up Horton Street and then they can't get through, they're gonna go down Sherwin, they're gonna go around 1500 Park, they're gonna go on Park Avenue, they're gonna go all around the 1500 Park neighborhood because they can't go straight through. Well, is that something we want? We need to figure that out.
Wait, hold on. What do you mean?
Well,
it's
if you
something
make
want? We have to.
if you make it slow enough so that, you know, it's quicker to be on the freeway, then.
I don't
Well,
know,
hold on,
I don't know, but
hold on.
but they're gonna look at that. So,
Jennifer,
and
you
we're gonna look.
raise your hand up?
Well,
Actually, Scott and then Jennifer. Thank you.
My question partly relates to this discussion. Traditionally, Emeryville has relied on development to fund all these capital improvements. We're still going to be able to fund capital improvements, is what you're telling us, Maurice, which is good news. As individual projects come along, we can pressure those doing the development to contribute a certain amount of infrastructure. That's not going away.
Right.
Okay, so now here's my question. We're gonna have a pretty big population expansion, given the new facilities, housing, condo facilities, I guess they're apartments, at Hollis and Powell Street. There's a lot of new units.
That's like
going in.
500 units or 300?
300, I think it's more like 300, so it's probably 500 people. Is
Yeah,
that
so
right?
you know,
164 units.
5 or
Oh,
600
okay,
people.
So maybe 300 people.
Sherwood-Williams,
How many do they want?
1,500, 1,000, 2,000 people.
1,000 people probably.
Okay, so, you know, if you look at that in ratio to Emeryville's population, that's a pretty big chunk.
It's like 10 or 12%, yeah.
So, you know, that's coming right up. When we have, you know, major in our general fund, we have, you know, police and fire are the big things. Now, this new property valuation is gonna contribute to police and fire. Has anyone done the calculations to see that the new incoming property values are gonna support the extra police services that we're gonna need? Joel, have you done the calcs?
I have not.
Okay, but somebody's gonna do this, right, so that we're, you know, because
It's not gonna be
it's a
somebody
new
in the
day in
police
Emeryville.
It's not gonna be a sworn, like,
And so like, do you
word of
think we're gonna
mouth.
have a shortfall, a capital shortfall? No, we're gonna need X number of police more, and then the capital costs that we have for vehicles does not include this new expansion that's gonna be required. Does, like, the capital costs take into
Well, when
account?
that project moves forward, it's still, you know, they've had public study sessions, and the project is not happening right now, we're still waiting to hear back.
Yeah,
But that'll have to be discussed when that gets moving forward.
Yeah,
But in the
there'll be another
meantime,
sequence,
back to the Horton Street traffic coming. So this is a proposal that we, over the next year, we start developing what that trial measures are, and we have a design contract on board so that we can lay out what we want to do, so that we can have a plan that shows what we're going to do, and then we can, you know, just like we did in the triangle, do a temporary measure. Hopefully, it's just a matter of putting cones up in easy spots and painting. But we have, and then we have some money available here to kind of study it, take traffic counts, and spend time doing that. And then so, by the time we're 2 years out, and we'll get a better sense of the effectiveness, and then we'll be able to put together a design and a budget for that. At least, you know, if we're going to do it with city funds, we'd have to hire consultants to design it, but my recommendation would be to have Sherwin-Williams do what the bulk of the funding. So that's all.
Thanks, I'm thrilled that we have this grant, so that on our SIP budget line item, you know, it's a much smaller amount that we're looking for general capital to put this in place. And I would hope that this committee might recommend just looking at a level 5, if it's a temporary measure, to see really what the impacts could be if you have a diverter, and it seems that the
Be
Sherwin-Williams.
a real diverter instead
A real
of
diverter,
chicane-
right.
Instead of a bunch of chicanery.
And since this would cover the temporary measures, and I think you can have a temporary diverter, didn't we do that in the triangle, where you couldn't go through on certain streets? But then-
Okay, the plan doesn't provide for a temporary level 5, only temporary level under levels, not for
You're
5.
saying
So it
by
doesn't
ten.
say it
Five,
here right now.
But I don't think we couldn't go beyond what.
You can't go beyond 5, it's the last.
No, I'm not saying go beyond 5, I'm saying go beyond what's in the plan. If you're saying it's not accounted for in the plan, I'm just saying we might want to consider having level 5 since we have this opportunity.
Better to be proactive, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, and
You can see-
I
it's-
think it's great
it's-
that the Sherwin-Williams developers, you know, incorporate traffic diverters in their example of what the project would look like, their site plan, and if they're willing to consider it and they're gonna study it with their traffic analysis, I think it's an opportunity for us.
So I don't understand, so you're saying, skip level 4 and go directly to level 5, the diverter, temporary diverters.
Right.
I'd be in favor of that.
Yeah,
Laura?
so there's nothing that precludes us from
Yeah, I'd
having
be in
that.
favor of that, certainly.
Hold on, Laura?
Well, I want to say a couple things. I've just been looking through bicycle goals and metrics, and one of the things I just want to clarify is that we have that 3,000 vehicles per day metric, but there's also a speed metric, and they sort of go together. And one of the things it says, if the street has relatively high volumes, over 3,000 vehicles per day, 85th percentile speed should be further reduced below 22 miles per hour where feasible. So I wanted us to not just focus on volumes in this traffic coming, and I think one of the issues on Horton, and I think one of the things that I hope we will study and will go into this project, is you can't have people, there's a very wide street, you can't have cars just rushing up and then going one at a time through this, through the neck down. You've got to slow people down before they get there. And if you want to reduce, and one of the things it says here is that by reducing speeds with things like speed bumps and neck downs and stuff, you also reduce volumes up to 20%. Like, just, and I think as a bicyclist, I would like less volume, but I really want less speed. I'm happy to ride on a fairly busy street if people are going really slow and we can work together. I mean, I used to ride on Market Street in San Francisco all the time, which is packed with buses and cars, but the bikes, there's so many bikes at this point that they're like a traffic calming thing, and nobody, and even before the bikes, it's so congested, no one goes fast, so it doesn't feel super dangerous. When there's less traffic on Market Street and the cars can get up to speed, then it's scary. So I think, I just wanted, to focus not just on the volume, but the speed issue here. And maybe we want to put with this project some things that are very cheap or free, not free, but very cheap, like reducing the speed limit, and maybe we need to do a traffic study before we can do that. I think that
Yeah, you
was.
can't just take down a speed limit.
Right, I think we have to do a
You
traffic
can't
study.
enforce it. I mean,
You
if
can
you
do
lower
it-
the speed limit, you can't enforce it unless you
Unless
have
we
a speed
have.
zone survey and.
But maybe that can be part of the Sherwin-Williams study, is not just volumes, but
Right, well,
speeds.
once we start moving on this project, we're definitely gonna need to discuss it in the committee as to how we want, what the scope to be.
Okay,
So, I mean,
Well, and
it's here.
Okay, and I just want to add one other thing. I mean, Brian was pointing out that this isn't a whole lot of money for this project, but I also want to say that for the entire rest of the bike plan, other than the couple big projects that are that 16 million, we've got 175,000, which to me is way, way too little to do the things that we would like to do. And I think, the big ticket items are accounted for, and
135,000
It's
is
on
the
line-
implementation line.
Yeah, so let me explain that project. So, we have discrete projects here. We've got the sidewalk program, which is the ped part of your bike ped, right? So we've got a sidewalk improvement program. The Christie Avenue Bay Trail, that's a big project that we're trying to hustle through. I mean, we've
that's
got,
the
yes,
two-way
right.
thing, yeah.
So we've got the Emeryville Greenway between Stanford and Powell. We've got the Horton Street experimental we were just talking about. We've got the Safe Routes to School project, that's a big safety project. Safe Routes to Transit project, that's another $940,000 project. So, so those are all the big projects we're doing. There's a lot. I mean, we only have 2 engineers here, so, so I don't know how much you think we're gonna squeeze out of two engineers. So then we've got this $175,000 project where if the committee decides, hey, we want to put in green paint on this block here, and I can say, well, I don't have any money to do so. Well, we do. We have a little money here that we can charge to do these little things that you might come up with over the next 2 years to do.
Well, can I ask then that we change the wording of that one? Because to me, I look at that and I'm like, geez, we just did this huge bike, we haven't even budgeted as much to implement it as I think we spent on producing it. Maybe we could say bike plan, pedestrian plan, implementation of miscellaneous, or, it's something that indicates that this isn't the entirety, that implementation of small projects.
It says minor cost improvements on the page.
If you look at
on that
this
big
is a sheet,
page.
but if you go to
Okay.
let's go to that program description. That's page 46.
Just so you know, the plan costs $200,000.
Okay, so it's less than that. I mean, and
I
thank you
mean,
for
but
the
every
clarification,
project,
that's helpful.
every project in that I listed before we talked about that,
It's
it's
from
all the
the-
bike plan, right? Everything in here is in the bike plan. So
Well, I don't think the transit stop improvements are.
Transit stop improvements are in the
Oh, are
bike
they?
plan.
Okay, okay,
What about the 53rd Street Bridge?
okay.
Is that in here?
That's one of the big things, right? That's one of the
that's
the
in, that's on
60
the
million
first page,
thing.
it's number
It's the
5.
South Bay Front.
Maurice said it could be included in this, but it's actually in the community facilities section instead.
Oh, that's number
That's,
5.
that's
Big.
number 5. That's
So-
number 5 on here.
So then we have, so we go to number 46, bicycle and pedestrian plan implementation, and then dash minor cost improvement.
Okay, okay.
All right?
Thank you for
So
the
that's
clarification.
I
about.
mean, it could
Okay.
say for projects not already listed or something.
Yeah, okay, all
Yeah, I
right.
think that
That answers.
Brian's been waiting here for a little while. Did you want to maybe make motions that we include planning for
Yeah,
level 5 in
yeah,
this?
okay, let me first
I
make
mean, I
that.
think that's where you're trying to get to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So Maurice, I hope that so the level 5 traffic calming, if we go by what the bike ped plan says, has to fall in to this CIP, this 5-year CIP, because it's every 2 years is when you upgrade. So we're gonna be doing level 4 now, so then 2 years we'll be, so hold on. So I love the idea of Sherwin-Williams paying for level 4 and or 5 permanent traffic calming, and not having to have the city pay for it. I love that idea. but there's a chance that might not happen. It's a negotiation that the city would have to do with development. So we're not certain that that's
Well,
gonna
then it'll
happen.
be a trade-off for density, watch.
Yeah, but, well, we hope that it would work out. We hope
Right.
that the city council, at least 3 members of the city council, feel strongly enough about the bike ped plan that they would actually negotiate to try to get this. But we don't know that. We don't know that they're willing to do that. And so I think it's prudent to assume that they're not going to do that, or that won't work out. And if it does, that's great, but if it doesn't, we should be moving forward as if it's not going to happen. So what I think we should do is have you tell us how much money it's gonna cost to implement the level 5 traffic calming.
I will be able to do that after we do this first phase. I have no idea.
Okay, hold on, let me finish. Here's what's incumbent, and the bike ped plan lays this out. Remember I told you about the traffic calming between 45th and Sherwin. That's the southern diverter. Then there's a northern one. So it's sort of incumbent upon you to spend some time up in your office calculating about how much that's gonna cost. And then,
I don't know what's
hold on,
gonna-
and then having that be here in the CIP as one of the things that we wanna do, because we may not, as I just said, we may not get it from the developer. Maybe the developer says no, the city might not find this important enough to negotiate this. So I'm just saying it's prudent, since we have to do this, it's in our bike ped plan, and we're charged with implementing the plan, this committee is. It's sort of, I think we should be operating as if it's not going to be paid for by the developer.
So have a placeholder.
So have a placeholder, exactly, thank you for that. So that's my motion.
Might be significant. So your motion is what? I think that our motion should be something like, this study should incorporate both level 4 and level 5.
You have the permanent,
I don't think that
Look,
they
first,
may
to
do that,
figure
and
out
then we
where
already
it's-
got the grant for doing something specific.
We have a grant, and we
Well,
can
that
define
doesn't
what
mean
the
they're
scope's
doing the
gonna
work
be.
with that
It's-
money.
It's a certain budget amount of time. And it envisioned a chicane on, chicane near, crossing
Near 53rd, isn't it?
near 53rd, right. However, with the
Where they
changes
create
at Novartis and the use of their parking lot, things have changed there where they need, whether or not they need the crossing we were originally talking about. So we need to get them in the loop as part of this whole conversation as to what we want to do there. But once we agree on what that scope is, we'll design it. And then we can go ahead and install whatever that's going to be. So if we decide we want to design a level 5 right now for a temporary measure, they can design that.
Okay.
I think that might make sense, and I also think.
well, hold on, what my motion is, and I'm not asking for temporary, some cones, I'm asking that we actually implement the plan. And
You've
the
gotta-
plan has
you've gotta-
to happen before 5
You
years.
have to test it, you have to see. what
That's
the
right, that
results
should
are.
happen for over the next 2
Yeah,
years.
you have to
and
do
then-
4, and then you can maybe do 5.
That's right, yeah,
You see what the
that's right, that's a
political
2-year,
But you
that's
have to-
our bicycle pedestrian plan, hold on, says that happens over 2 years. That's what our plan, our $200,000 plan said. But the CIP is a 5-year plan, so what I'm
But
saying.
it's a
I want
rolling one, and
what I
they're
think we
gonna
should do is
redo it
have-
in 2 years.
What I'm saying is, I think we should do what Jennifer suggested, have a placeholder for the money in the CIP to pay for level 5, just in case the developer doesn't do it, or the city council doesn't ask the developer to do it for whatever reason. A placeholder,
I hear
because
what you're saying.
it's over our head, this thing is like a sword of Damascus over our
I
head.
hear what you're saying.
The plan,
I just
we
don't
have
know
to do
that.
it.
I don't know how we would.
We have to do it, and so I'm just trying to make sure there's gonna be money to do it, just so we make sure.
So there might be a generic amount of money, you know.
$1 million,
Right.
$1 million.
Or $200,000, maybe
Yeah.
somewhere where
$1
they've
million.
put in a level 5 traffic calming.
Okay, well, you're the engineer,
I
you're the engineer, you have a better idea.
I don't know what the project is. I
Have you
don't know
seen,
what-
have you seen,
It's all
I
have
have no
contingency
idea
money.
what we're gonna do near.
you
contingency.
looked at the plan, do you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about, but it's very schematic. It doesn't really show what you're gonna do. It's ideas, they're sort of.
Well, all these are sort of schematic, like you came up with figures for, here for this, you came
No, I'm
up with
talking
figures
about the bike
for
plan.
this.
The bike plan has, throws up some ideas of things you could do, but if you really looked at it from an engineering standpoint, there's not enough to really, there's no.
Technical implementation.
So,
But wait a minute, but what I'm saying, is I'm trying to plan for level 5, which is the final thing. So there's no,
Can I ask a theoretical question here, which is if we did, let's just say we put, the city put money in the CIP for level 5, is that gonna make the developer less likely to pay for it?
that's
Does
a
that
political
have,
question.
well, and I'm just
I think
wondering,
this is a
is there,
political
is there a strategic thing of like, we don't have money, but you need to include this in your project? If we have money, do we have less leverage to say, you need to put it in your
Here's the
project?
best
I don't know, I'm
question.
asking.
I don't think so.
Okay, I mean.
Who's the
quick
best, who's the most
question.
qualified
There's
person?
some real nice blocks up at the Greenway between, say, Ocean and 65th, and Apache Baltimore is, and the next one up there. Most of that money came from the developers, came from Pulte. I mean, per
Well,
block,
most of it
that
actually
was.
came from the redevelopment agency. They contributed maybe 25% towards each park.
And each one of those costs like, what, $1
Well, there's like
million
$700,000, $800,000.
A block?
Yeah, $1 million on some of those, yeah.
So a diverter could easily cost half.
Potentially, I mean, it depends how nice you want to design it. You know, if you just want to put the Berkeley bollards up and call it a day, that's one thing.
Those are
So-
still up 30 years later.
Can I suggest that maybe if the committee wants to see over that 5 years, you know, we have 2 different stages for this, because it's possible that the first stage would need to be revised according to the metrics in 2 years. What if, and I think the best place to put it, based on what Laura was saying too, is in the unfunded projects over 5 years. This is an unfunded project. It's something that we're not necessarily allocating money towards, but we're gonna put a figure, and we don't know if it's 200,000 or $1 million,
Yeah, but see, the thing is,
and towards what that could be, because it could fall within those 5 years.
well, the thing about, you have to think about is if you put a low number in there, then the developer would say, oh, I only need to put 100,000.
So put a
Or
high
maybe it's
number.
gonna cost $1 million.
Yeah.
If
So
you
put
put
a
$1
high
million in
number.
it, then they're gonna get scared that, oh, well, it's too much, I don't wanna do it.
Wow.
So that's.
And does anything get arranged, or is everything just a fixed
They're
number?
gonna develop that
And-
site.
Right.
And we know that lots of these numbers are not accurate, they're just a guess.
Well, we did our best guess to try to budget for it. We didn't want, you know, we
I'm
didn't.
not pointing
we didn't-
fingers and saying you didn't do a good job. I'm
No,
just
no, no.
saying that
No,
we don't know exactly what's
There-
happening.
we don't have full designs for everything, so we really couldn't get a full detailed estimate. But we, we feel comfortable with these numbers.
Mhm.
I have a question. What happens in 2 years?
In 2 years, then we'll have found out if the
Have
level
data.
4 traffic calming works.
No, well, what about the whole CIP in 2 years?
Well, in 2 years,
Didn't update.
actually, probably, this will be updated again. We'll probably start the update process in the 3rd year. Because we're gonna appropriate money for the first 2 years. And then in the 3rd year, we're working on the update.
Oh, so nothing happens in 2 years, it's maybe 3 years, is what you're saying? Okay. And when money gets moved around, or you have, I heard that I heard that, not to change the subject away from the traffic calming, but I heard that the successor agency, that there's a lawsuit, you can lose the lawsuit, and then the bridge money gets cut, and then they're gonna shave off of everything else.
Oh, yeah, so that's a decision that
So
the city
then-
council is gonna need to weigh. So the bridge is like a $16 million project, and there's about 11 million being challenged by the Department of Finance. So there's a chance that we're not gonna get that $11 million, and then we wouldn't have enough funding to do the whole project. If we have to give that 11 million back to the taxing agencies,
And
the
the city
city
council
would
has a
get
very
back
high
about
value.
20% of it. So we'd get about a little over $2 to $3 million. And we'd be short about $8 million. We'd need to come up with $8 million worth of projects. We have $8 million here. The question would be, well, are we gonna unfund some of the things we have on the list so that we can pay for it? That's it.
Right.
Could be a decision that the city's gonna need to make. We don't know yet.
Prince.
Sure. I just wanted to say, really like the scope of the projects you're looking at. The flight plan prioritizes, projects based on a number of criteria. And I'm glad to see a lot of those high priority projects that are making it into the CIP, like the Christie Street project, like the Horton Street traffic mitigation. One of the projects that was pretty highly rated in the bike ped plan that I haven't seen really, and it might be incorporated into an existing project, I'd like to hear about that, is the continuation of the bike boulevard at 53rd Street to connect up to San Pablo, which would basically meet, an existing bikeway in the Oakland network to create east-west.
Yeah, I think most of that's actually in Oakland, isn't it?
Well, we actually, on 53rd Street, we put in a bike boulevard up to Boyer, right? Just very recently with the last Flurry Seal project. Now, the ECCL project's underway.
Right.
And they're gonna start construction this year, and there's a condition there that I believe that they're supposed to continue with Bike Boulevard up to San Pablo.
And that would include improvements.
And then
there
we're
at the
out of
intersection.
Emeryville.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, the center, the city limit lines are down the center of the street,
Yeah.
so we can, but we're gonna stripe.
Well, I knew there were some designations for trying to simplify that intersection, and I know it's half owned by
At
Emeryville, half.
53rd and
Yeah.
San Pablo?
Yes.
Yes, that's all part of the condition.
Okay, that's very
Yeah.
cool, it's good to hear.
Yeah, there's a
Um,
detailed plan for that, I think.
And I'm just curious if whether you have considered the bike plan priorities, bike ped plan priorities specifically when trying to figure out, how to move forward on this.
We went through every project in the bike ped plan and figured out which ones we felt were feasible to do in the next 5 years, and that's what we have here.
Great.
You don't think it's feasible to do the level 5 traffic calming?
He
We're
doesn't
trying to
know
figure
whether
out
it's
what we're doing.
needed, Brian.
We don't know what we're doing yet. We're trying to figure it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
I would like to make a motion here, and I'd like to have Jennifer help me if we could. I mean, since you're better at drafting motions. I'd like the use of the word placeholder. Can you help me out here? So you know what, you're pretty much understanding what I want. I want to make sure that,
I think, yeah, you're moving that we put in place, we put a placeholder as an unfunded project.
Yes.
The second step, the follow-up to the temporary
that's right,
traffic calming.
yes, as per the bike ped plan
So
success.
can I clarify, are we talking about, because the money that's in the plan right now
Shouldn't
is
we-
really money for the study and for the temporary measures, but it's not enough money if the
There's
temporary
no
measures.
construction money for the permanent.
The permanent, so we're talking about putting in a placeholder for permanent
Yeah.
construction of some kind of traffic calming on Horton Street.
Yeah.
But we
Like
don't
a
know how much it's
$500,000.
We don't know what it is.
I like
He's
half a
guessing
million.
Sorry?
I like $500,000.
He said half
I'd
a
take
million,
it
said
right
a
now.
million.
I don't know, you pick a number.
Yeah, I think it's fine to pick a number. I mean, that's what placeholders are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Is just
Half
to
a
say this is
million.
an important project,
Well,
we're
the two
putting
of
it
them
there,
are
we don't know
there.
how we're
There's
gonna pay for
There's a
it.
southern one and a northern one, so.
So you wanna make
Maybe,
a number 43.5,
Mhm.
and it'd be a placeholder for $500,000
Unfunded.
for
An unfunded
unfunded, but likely level 5 or something like that?
Well,
Yeah.
for construction.
Permanent or level 5,
construction.
we don't know which is gonna go.
Level 5 is.
Level 5 is permanent.
No, but it could be permanent level 4.
It could be permanent.
If level 4 brings the numbers down, you're gonna put in permanent level 4.
That's right, but you
If
know-
level 4
but
doesn't
the
bring the
thing
numbers
about-
down, then you're gonna
but
put in
the thing
level
about
5, and it could be
permanent level-
temporary or permanent. You
The
don't
thing
know.
about permanent level
Right?
4, for it to only, just like, talk just for a second about permanent level 4, we've never really talked about that. That could exist if all the projects that are gonna affect the street are in place. And then a permanent level 4 could conceivably work. But what couldn't happen is we do a permanent level 4, and then you do the Sherwin-Williams, and then you do these other projects, and then all of a sudden it's, oh, we're way over 3,000, then it's not permanent.
Well, and that's where you need to be flexible with your 2 years, frankly, because if you're waiting for
Yeah, man,
projects
that's
to
why I like
come
your
in and
idea
try and
about-
understand
that's why I
what
like
the
your
impacts
idea.
are,
That's why I
you're
like
going to
your-
need to wait
your
2 years,
idea.
or 3 years, or 4 years
Well,
until that's all in place.
That's why I like your idea about, well, let's just go to the 5, to the level 5 directly, because we're talking 1,000 cars just for Sherwin-Williams alone, and we're already way over 3,000 vehicle trips a day right now.
That's
Not-
gonna take
not counting
city
the other
council's
projects.
leap
Right,
of
so that's a
faith for
political
city council,
decision.
right?
Yeah.
So, as note taker, I just wanna make sure I get this, motion correct. Also, I don't know if you guys do it this way, my understanding is you do get a second to motion
Yeah.
and then you have discussion. So, I don't know if we've got the full motion yet, but I have, put a placeholder, in place as, an unfunded project at, I think I'm missing some like, little words in the middle here, but, as a second step to the temporary.
Yeah, should we call them permanent traffic calming measures?
Yeah, funding for permanent traffic calming measures, and we don't have to say it with level 4.
And why
That's right,
don't
we
you
don't have
just,
to say it, that's right,
Right.
that's a
and
good
why don't
point.
you recommend a dollar amount you want in the placeholder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it what, for 2 of them?
Whatever you want.
No, but you were deferring to you.
I don't know what it's gonna be, so
I
I.
think you should just put
You
a
know more
number.
than I do.
500,000?
You have to pick the
I'm
number.
not
You
suggesting
500 sounds
can't
good.
hold him to
No,
the
it's
number.
me
You
too.
have
It's
to
all
pick
been
up
out
the
there,
number.
let's
You
play
can't
it
hold
that
him
way.
to the
Yeah,
number.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
You're not gonna have him say something and you say, well, Maurice said.
No, you can do that.
No, but you can just say, I haven't.
No, you have to pick the number.
Yeah, you pick it.
Okay,
You're making a motion.
okay, $500,000.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so, what was the, I'm sorry, what was the amount?
$500,000.
Okay, so it's, so create a item number 43 and a half or 43A or whatever, for $500,000 as a placeholder for, the unfunded project, as a second step to the temporary measures as studied.
Permanent.
For
Permanent traffic calming.
Permanent traffic
For
calming.
permanent
Permanent
for permanent traffic calming measures installation.
After this temporary, 2 years after the temporary.
Okay.
I don't know if you even have to have a time frame.
Well, yeah, it's plan said 2 years, but yeah, after, just say sometime after.
Maybe less.
During this CIP.
Okay,
It's
so
unfunded anyhow.
I already said it's a second step to the temporary measures.
Just use the word permanent traffic calming.
For permanent.
And then, now we can have a discussion, discussion.
And
now.
Brian, you might be right that we could probably get Sherwin-Williams to do the things near Sherwin-Williams on that block to the north.
Maybe not,
Maybe
yeah.
not.
Yeah, maybe not, it may not be Will.
Yeah.
They're the transit center, maybe we could get them to do it, but maybe
Where?
not them either.
Well, and I
But-
have to say that as we're talking about to the north, I, as somebody who often comes up Mandela, I really think if we end up needing to do diversion, 40th Street is where we need to do it, because that's where people need to turn, so that they
Sure.
don't come north. And I have to say, I don't know if I said this last month, but I was there on a weekend when there was a lot of traffic going to the stores. Almost everybody turned right or left at 40th Street heading north. On the weekdays, almost everybody goes through, and I think it's because of that, people, it's commuters, whereas the people who are going there just to shop are not using Horton as a
Right.
cut.
They don't know where they're going.
There's the same amount of traffic in that, in the mall area, but there's a real difference in the impact on Horton Street
Because
on
we
the
don't know,
weekday traffic
we
versus.
don't know
the
how
weekend.
Sherwin-Williams traffic is.
Right, that may
or the
change the
other-
whole
other
equation.
devices.
But it's sort of, would this project cost very much? This is sort of like a police enforcement thing, I think. You put up a sign.
Well, I don't think that, I think the police said the sign wasn't enforceable, it's a suggestion or something. You can't take it.
Well, but the way it is now, it says local traffic only, so you don't have any way to enforce that.
Right,
What if you make that one block southbound only?
oh,
I think
except
that's-
for a two-way bike lane?
Well,
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah.
but it
Or
doesn't
say we're
have,
at-
it doesn't have to be southbound only, but you can only enter it by being on 40th Street. You can't cross.
Or something going north on Horton and it says, right turn and left turn only 4 to 6 PM.
Mm.
I don't know.
People are ignoring the sign.
That becomes an enforcement issue.
I'm just saying that I would like that to be in the equation if we're talking about traffic calming in Horton, because I think that's.
Yeah, I
I
really
wonder-
agree with that,
I
because
wonder
I
if the
commute the
committee
same
can
route.
take a
and
vote
it's
on
really
the,
story.
on the motion, since we're kind of nearing the end of our
Yeah.
time.
Before we vote,
Yeah,
just say
maybe.
one
We're
thing.
still discussing, I think that
Yeah,
this
we're
is
still
what's gonna work
Oh, I didn't know.
long-term on Horton. You're gonna need a permanent diverter of some sort.
Think so too.
You're gonna need to put parking back in on both sides of the street, the Vardis be damned. And you're gonna have to reduce the speed limit to at least 20 and maybe, as far as I think there,
18.
eventually an 18-mile-an-hour speed limit for bike boulevards. You can, you know, Hollis is what, 30?
So it's like funding another study.
Well, I'm just saying, long-term, this is what's gonna work. You gotta slow them down and make it so that it's
Yeah,
just
I got
as
it,
easy to
yeah.
get on Hollis,
Right, right.
or easier to get on Hollis.
Right,
Yeah,
Then they will get off of Horton.
yes, you're right.
Build it and they will not come.
Right.
but like Maurice was saying earlier, you
That's what it
gotta,
has to be.
you can't just change the speed limit without,
Yeah.
I forget what the process is called.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm
So
saying,
then
you know,
that's
there will be
additional
something
funding.
codified, in the next 5 to 10 years, there will be something codified where bike boulevards will be so widespread that this will work.
Yeah.
Or maybe it'll be 20 for you
So-
fast
I
cyclists.
want to say one other thing
Hey,
about
look at me.
about,
No, we gotta vote on this.
well, I want to say one other thing in
We're
defense
still
of this,
discussing it,
before we
unfortunately.
vote on one other thing in defense of us saying yes to this tonight, is one other thing that we get something for this, and that is, we get to find out, if we do this, we're gonna find out, is this council serious about the bike ped? About the
Well,
Horton
in
Street
the
bike?
long run, we're gonna find out whether or not
Yeah, we're gonna find out
we're
very soon.
showing a number to Sherwin-Williams and then they end up showing a
Well,
number.
but then we have a new.
But if they vote, yeah, what I'm saying, well, if we push,
Notice it,
if we push this to the transportation committee and presumably they will forward it, I hope, and then it goes to the council, we're gonna find out, 'cause whether, we really are gonna find out at that point, are they serious about our bicycle pedestrian plan or not?
So shall we
We'll
call
get
the
that
roll?
information. Okay, I'm sorry. Any other discussion?
Is there a substitute motion or anything?
I'd like to make one comment. Aren't you
Turn
predetermining
the
the
camera towards
results?
you.
Aren't you predetermining the results
Do
of
a
the study? I mean, you're gonna do a study, what, the results mean you're gonna definitely go forward with it or not?
I don't know what that means.
The first phase or the second phase, you mean?
Well, you're doing a study to see if you need a permanent diverter, right? You're doing a study to measure the impact of what you're doing. And we don't have any results of the study, so you're saying, well, let's fund a permanent diverter before we find out what the results of the first study is.
That was what Maurice was trying to say before, right?
Right, that's why we're putting a placeholder in.
Placeholder.
Okay.
Well, but I think we have the
Or
statistics to
attempting.
know that we have traffic volumes that are too high. We
They're
don't
way too
have,
high.
That's right.
yeah, we don't have statistics to know what the speed is. We haven't done whatever we need to do to enforce a lower speed limit.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
right.
the thing we would need to study, but we already know that some traffic diversion is called for based on the metrics of the bike boulevard.
But we don't know if the temporary measures might reduce those enough.
Yeah.
Well, if the temporaries do,
Then they
then
still
we
make it
still need that
permanent.
500,000 to make it permanent. It's not like, you know,
So where's the money coming from?
we hope Sherwin-Williams.
Unfunded.
We may
I was
not
just
have
gonna say
one.
Unfunded.
Yeah, unfunded projects. Isn't that that first column?
So are we ready to call the
Oh, so
roll?
what that says, bike plan implementation, or what?
No, this is gonna be,
It's 43, oh, so where's the unfunded?
The column on the left.
Remember,
Plenty of
we're
money.
only
it's just where the money
advising,
is coming
So
from.
here's this one.
they only advise.
So are there, oh, you're gonna take a vote, right?
Yeah.
We'd like to advise the traffic committee with this. So,
So your recommendation is to add a project for installation of permanent measures once we know what they are.
Right.
because we're convinced that within the next 3 to 5 years, it's going to be.
Okay.
Okay, all those, all members who say aye?
Aye.
Oh, I want to see some hands.
I'm gonna start, well.
You said say.
aye.
Yeah,
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, what is that, 6?
6.
Are you abstaining or voting no?
Well, we know.
He's voting no, because he doesn't want us to impede traffic at
That's
all,
what he said.
anywhere in the city.
It's not what I said.
That's a quote, that's a direct quote from you, right to the camera. I heard you.
Okay.
So let me ask, are there any other questions on any other projects?
Yeah,
on
what
the
else have
staff?
we got on these?